for Discussions of Truth, Ian Trottier. We are in San Antonio. The best movement, best freedom movement, in my opinion, is coming out of Clay Clark camp. Clay certainly has just, no one has been able to bring together so many different industry professionals as Clay has, and we're very fortunate I am very fortunate, and you're fortunate to be graced by two former guests on the show. One, Dr. Jana Schmidt, a naturopathic physician, and Dr. Aaron Williams, anesthesiologist. So gracing our presence right now are the two of these individuals. Dr. Jana, we'll start with you. Dr. Jana, bring listeners up to date as to what's happening in your end of the world here.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. Lots is happening. We're working feverishly, America's frontline doctors, to come to the needs of the people. Blueprints are being laid out right now. I'm going tonight to Kansas City to talk to some people. Blueprints for gold care clinics. So these are clinics that are going to be separated from the government control, kind of like a PMA. And they're going to have not just MDs, but NDs and nurses and chiropractors and a full regular pharmacy and a full natural pharmacy. So this is going to, and all the labs and x-ray machines, everything we can possibly do in these clinics, and they're even looking at doing hospitals in this regard too. So they have the freedom to treat the patients the way they should be treated and not be censored for life-saving remedies.
That's great news. Aaron, have you heard about these?
I've only heard a little bit, but I'm really excited. There's been, even within where I am in Minnesota, there's been some talk about doing this, but I think it's a hard time getting organized. And so to hear that this is moving along is just incredibly heartening to me that we're getting there. I'm super enthused. I'm excited to sit here and hear it. So, the more we can do of that, to actually provide individualized care to each person. For some it might be a surgery, others it might be naturopathic, others it might be the traditional routes with medication for certain things. We have to not limit ourselves into one model of care that excludes all others that have very much validity and are proven to treat a lot of people and a lot of illnesses.
It's been like that for a long time. It's been separated for so long, when really integrative medicine is the way to go, because then you can care for everybody in where they are, the way they need it. And when those teams work together, then everybody benefits.
Absolutely. People need to expand their thinking out of these false dichotomies of it's, regular, Rockefeller medicine, now that I learn more about the history of our field. And then back into, the naturopathic. They need to think it's not just one or the other. We need to open our minds and not be so closed off and actually understand what's out there. There's evidence for it, There's evidence for all these things if we just take the time to look.
One of my mentors since I was 5 years old, Dr. Patch Adams, has had this vision for so many years to have this integrative healing place with the Gesundheit Institute, and I don't think it's ever gotten off the ground the way he had hoped. But now I think more people are more aware and maybe more for it. So I hope there's a lot of those, not just his, but that spring up.
And as we get this information out to people, the public is very sheltered. They think that there's a consensus because all they hear, for the most part, is they hear just the narrative, safe and effective. They hear all these things, but they don't understand that there's so many physicians out there, America's frontline doctors leading the charge and others, that they're out there, but not even just them. There's so many behind them. Even me, once I was out speaking, what I found is 20 or 25 different physicians just from our area have reached out, but they're all too afraid to speak out. There's a much bigger coalition of people going against this consensus, CDC says game, mockingbird medicine, all that kind of stuff. And the more that we come up with reasonable alternatives for places for them to practice, the more courage they're going to get to actually come out and also to help form these things, because there's so many out there to build these with that would be eager to.
So, and to encourage those to come out, like you said, we are looking, America's Frontline Doctors, looking for people that will fill those slots in the clinics and the hospitals. So I can encourage those, if you are interested and you are any of this MD, ND, PA, RN, chiropractor, any in those fields, to contact America's Frontline Doctors if you're interested in being part of it.
So Jana, is this something that? Where is this coming from? Because I totally concur with my first thought is, hey, I'm a practicing physician and I'm refusing to receive, just like for instance the previous guest on the program here, Mike Schmidt, who's an airline pilot. I'm facing a possible mandate here. We've got Josh Yoder here, who's heading the U.S. Freedom Flyers. Am I willing to walk away from my employer, which is feeding my family, because I am standing convicted against this mandate? Well, so then we insert what you're bringing up here, Jana, which is a prospective opportunity here to employ people that are standing up for this conviction. Who's heading this? Is this Simone Gold? Who's heading this?
Yeah, Dr. Simone Gold is heading this. She started brainstorming in July at the White Coat Summit #2 here in San Antonio, and it was just over brunch, and we were all just so excited about it. Everybody was on board with it. So, and of course she's amazing, and she gets things done, and she doesn't waste time. She doesn't. she's on it, and she's getting these things done. And as I understand, the blueprints are being formed now.
That's great. Okay, and where is so follow the money, right? So that's always a question I always have. Mm-hmm. Who's getting behind this financially?
Who's getting behind the clinics financially?
Yes.
I actually don't know the answer to that. Do you?
What, Aaron?
No. I was going to say, I don't know if they know or if they'd even want to advertise at this point.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
Okay.
I was kind of posing a question.
Because that's not, that's not my my field. That's not my part in it. I mean, I know they have lawyers that are working for them, but I don't know. I have
Yeah.
Maybe I'll know more later.
Yeah. But certainly
in the production and the creative and brainstorming part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and if they stay behind the scenes but still help enable the process to occur, if they want credit, come on out. If they want to, do whatever and stay behind the scenes, great.
Yeah,
as long as it happens.
As long as that happens, right? As long as that happens, and it sounds like it is happening. Is it happening, Dr.
There's a big push for it. There's so many people that are looking for alternative places to work, to live. There's different states. I'm in the state of Florida, so there's a lot.
Florida, you have a horrible governor there.
Oh,
he's not doing anything for you.
He's the best. So I feel like there's so many people looking for alternatives now out there that there's enough to drive it.
Absolutely, and I can tell you, from my firsthand experience of finally, when the boot comes down on the neck and they put the mandates out, then a lot of people come out of the woodwork to at least talk to each other. So many nurses, so many, NPs, so many PAs, and quite a few doctors. You easily have the manpower, and they are looking. And not all of them want to necessarily move to another state. They also, if you can also create these, and there's enough manpower and enough interest, so many of these, most of the states, you can probably accomplish this well, and they will be more than eager to help build it. Once you get that information to them, like on Discussions of Truth and America's Frontline Doctors.
Right. That's true.
So there's a void that definitely needs to be filled, and the first thing I think about in regards to what you're talking about, Aaron, is possibly this can happen in different counties, because the constitutional county, the sheriff may have some type of jurisdiction over there to permit these type of clinics. Is a clinic or miniature hospitals, if you're growing hospitals, from taking place outside of Kansas City. Dr. Jana, is there anywhere else geographically where this is happening?
Oh, they're slotting it all over the country. There are people interested all over the country, and not just in major cities either, in some small rural communities too.
And the thing is too, even if you don't necessarily have, say you have a large geographic state, there is a lot of interest to find these physicians and naturopaths and everyone else who don't just subscribe to the CDC says mantra. They will travel to these places to get their care. There is so much interest that is being suppressed out there that you don't have to be in every geographic location. If you're just relatively close, they will come to you. You build it. If you build it, they will come.
Oh, I like that.
That's great.
That's good.
Yeah, that's excellent, Aaron. So, what are you finding here? We go to Jana as you travel the country. Are you finding that your work that you're doing as a naturopathic doctor, people are listening? Is your personal movement growing?
Yes, more than I would have expected, and
Really?
more than ever.
Really?
Yes, I'm really surprised. I feel like so much of what I say is just, in my world, is just common daily occurrence, but I'm finding that a lot of people don't know these things and haven't been taught, or it's not part of their lifestyle, but they're crucial. It's crucial to their health, it's crucial to their immune system, it's crucial for their healing. And I'm happy, I'm thrilled to be able to share it with people on a large scale. So.
Aaron, how about yourself?
What are we finding out about? Well, I would say that...
Are your efforts reverberating? Are you finding that your outspokenness...
They are, for sure. And I think one of the things that's really heartening is that so many people, they don't feel like they have a voice. And also, for everyone being under threat, it is really hard to kind of think outside that box. And so when they see anybody standing up there, let alone, if you've had a good career and, well-credentialed and what have you, and you're up there saying, you know what, if I get fired, I get fired. If they take my license, they take my license. There's more important things in life. We're not held to this, and we can recreate that better system that Dr. Jana and others talk about outside what they've created for us to box us in, that it brings them so much courage and so much hope. That's where I get a lot of it. Might not have had the farthest reach to this point, but when you hear those personal stories and you know that, okay, now it helps you too, because then that means there's more people behind us. So it feeds upon itself, and that's what really picks me up is knowing these people feel better. They've got courage, they've got hope. They know how to make plans around these mandates and all the attacks that are coming.
I do have lots of people say, okay, if I have no choice, what do I have to get? And I hear this often, and I say, you always have a choice. You always have a choice. Is what you're doing worth it? Not just, okay, let's say you don't think the injections are harmful, right? I think they're harmful. But if you don't think they're harmful, giving up that
inoculations,
right? Giving up that freedom, what's that going to lead to? Giving up more freedoms and more and more. So is it, I don't know what job, whatever would be worth it to give that up. So most people ask me, even when I walked off the stage yesterday, somebody grabbed me, I don't even know who it was, and said, okay, so if I have no choice, which one is better, easier to detox from? Which of the shots?
Right.
Did you not hear anything I just said? Right. No, I don't recommend any of them. I can't in good conscience recommend any of them. And I know that a Hippocratic oath of, we're not supposed to do harm, we're supposed to help. We're not supposed to encourage anything that would harm a patient, and I can't recommend any of them to anybody. So, if they want to make that choice themselves. And that's one of the things America's Frontline Doctors is fighting for, is people to have informed consent to make that choice. It's part of America, right? We have the choice. We have the right to do what we want to do for the most part. But if they, informed consent is really important. If you know what you're getting into, you can make the decision, yes, I want to take this experimental biological injection and it has these risks. But people aren't being told that. So I say, do your research, find out, and then find out if what your job is worth this risk.
So let's say Aaron, you're an anesthesiologist, but let's say, and Dr. Jana, you can answer this as well. Let's say someone is listening to this and they've received one of the vaccinations or inoculations,
right?
And they regret, they want to reverse. I may have asked you this question last time, but how do you answer that?
It's a loaded question, because this is new. mRNA vaccine style has never been done in humans before. So it is a loaded question. We're learning more and more, and there are things you can do. There are always things you can do to make better your health. Always. There's hope in boosting your immune system and detoxing. So yes, I have a whole protocol of things. If you've received the injections and you're not happy about it, and you want to try to detox and try to maintain, remediating blood clots and different things like that, there are things that can be done.
I ran this by Aaron earlier, and I think it was March 2020, so right about the time this COVID pandemic thing had started. And I had I think he's got his MD from Harvard. He's 96. At 92,
oh, yes.
Did I tell you this story?
Yes.
At 92, he scales a skyscraper. Clifford Jones is his name. He's got millions of followers. He's been writing in medical journals in Canada since the 70s.
That's amazing.
I says, Ian, what? Or I says, doctor, listeners, how do they combat this infection? He says, take vitamin C intravenously. From your research and your understanding, your knowledge, Dr. Jana, would that help?
It would definitely help. Vitamin C is crucial. We don't make it, so we need to ingest it some way every day. However, not everybody has access to intravenous vitamin C.
Yeah.
It's really not practical for the everyday person. It's not practical for me at all. And then there's needles and costs, and so liposomal C is a really good option. It makes the C bioavailable, and it's nearly equal to an intravenous C, liposomal C. It's made with sunflower oil, and it helps really make it bioavailable.
Amazing,
so,
wonderful,
it's great.
So that's thank you, Dr. Jana. Aaron, do you have any comments on that?
No, I always look into, lately, especially now that I've kind of expanded my mind, to look for the evidence, not just to go with my assumptions or my belief system, but to see what else is out there. I haven't heard about this particularly, but now I'm curious to look into it more and to see, because there's evidence out there. The doctors, the physicians, everybody needs to look. We're taking our filter, we're taking our recommendations from the CDC that is heavily laden with all of the financial interests that are enveloped and crossed back and forth, the NIH and Fauci and company. Once they look at this information, once they actually look at the real evidence for themselves, not the filter that it comes through, then they're going to see the same thing. No physicians out there, when they see this information and they see evidence for things, are going to see anything different. That natural immunity is way better than these mRNA injections. All these different things, they're out there. And also along with that, when I hear things like this, and I understand I don't know a lot of these things, we have to realize we don't know what we don't know. And if you haven't looked at the evidence, you know if it's there. So I look forward to, when I hear these, I'm like, oh good, I found something new I didn't know about, and I'm anxious to look into it and see what kind of evidence does exist.
Let me quickly, Dr. Aaron, you have, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about this light that you mentioned. I didn't know that you had found this. This is the first time hearing about it. Tell listeners about this research.
Yeah, so, why am I here on Discussions of Truth, an anesthesiologist speaking about a brand new type of UV light? Yeah, I asked myself the same question. So this light is an improvement upon the old for those who know about the UVC that goes into HVAC systems, or a little box, or a little sterilizing wand you buy from somewhere that you might get from Amazon, or even the people in the medical community who understand that, oh yeah, we've used those in the operating rooms with our little robots. Everybody has to leave, and we close all the blinds so the light can't escape. We realize that UV light works really well to kill all viruses and bacteria. But the limiting step there is that can only be used when people aren't present. Well, here's the game changer for a new one that came from. Did I come up with it? Do I have a financial vested interest? Zero. But I do want to bring this, what people have come up with, to the public. So this is out of Columbia University in conjunction with a few different companies, one of the foremost being Far UV Technologies out of Kansas City, faruv.com, not near, but faruv.com. And they've also had partnerships with the Department of Defense, NASA, Boeing, a really tight partnership with them in development, Air Force, National Guard, etc. The list goes on. Well-known science. What this UV light is and does, the best way to tell people is, if we put these lights in that are readily available right now, we put them into public spaces, this does not harm humans, and it is the equivalent immediately from the moment you plug them in of everyone in the room wearing an N95 mask. So would I advocate this for home use? No. But when it comes to public spaces that are being held hostage by these injections and by your passport that goes along with the injections, you don't need them. Both sides can agree on this. You say, well, it's UV light. I've heard the UV light. How does this one not harm you? Well, they've done plenty of studies. All the evidence is there when I can get people to look at it and help with discussions of truth here. But it is not harmful. It's safer, literally safer than sunlight. The chances of getting skin cancer is 1 in a quadrillion. It kills all viruses and bacteria in the air, like 99% within 10 minutes. Different studies, they run different ways, but essentially it effectively kills nearly everything in the air continuously with zero harm to humans You don't need a mask because you're worth an N95. You don't have to worry about variants because they're all killed the same, whether it's any of the Greek alphabet letters or the World Health Organization's constellation names they're going to go to next. It's all dissolved rapidly, and it could be implemented immediately. It's just that people aren't aware, even the medical community. So, getting this out there, it's all there. The evidence is there, and we can bring it to the people.
Aaron, this boggles my mind. What led you down that road? And Dr. Jana, I know you're going to be catching a flight here pretty quick here, so we're going to wrap up. And if we got Josh Yoder here. What led you down that road, Aaron? How did you get into that research?
Well, I had a lot of free time. At the beginning of 2020, we canceled so many surgeries, and I was in an administrative position at that time, and I'm just looking for anything to help, and I'm just deep web searching, not dark web, don't get me wrong, DuckDuckGo searches. And I'm on there.
Not the Onion.
No,
is that what it's called, the Onion?
No, not that either. And so I'm finding this thing called far UV, and I saw Dr. David Brenner, the physicist out of Columbia University, in his TED Talk, and what it did for every other virus and things. I said, wow, what you could do with this. Pediatric bone marrow transplant units. And that was well before the mandates and before all of this craziness, and I realized what was going on. But when I realized that, it kind of got pushed on the back burner, but I looked back in the fall in November of last year, and I saw that, wow, there's a new company, Far UV Technologies, I've mentioned, and wow, they have all these affiliations and partnerships, and now they're the sole, supplier to the government. They're the preferred vendor to the government for this. They're promoting it everywhere. The DOD's all over it. And I'm like, wow, I got to get this out more. But, me and my little non-platform, I've just had a hard time breaking through. And so, yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to come here and do it. I've reached, the CEO reached out to me recently after some different media venues I was, blessed to be able to do. And now I've had that contact with him. And we know how to get people in contact with this. We know the money's there, and whether it's schools trying to unmask our kids, we should be able to without. But if you want something extra, it works for influenza. It works for pink eye, for heaven's sakes. It works for all these things. The money's there from the government. All you need is a groundswell of information and education. Once that happens, you literally, the one that they sent me one so I'd have some experience with it. I simply plug it in, and within minutes, it is completely cleansing the air, making it worth an N95 mask for everyone in the room that's with me.
I have to tell you, this is so groundbreaking, and because it's so effective all across the board, it won't take long for this word to get out, honestly. It's not going to take long. We're just going to take it and go.
I pray so.
Yeah, this is
and
so
thank
good.
you for allowing me the opportunity to speak about it and to listen past, even the physicians who do know a little bit about UV, that are these quiet physicians and people from across the country I speak about. When I tell them about it, they kind of pat me on the back. Oh, good job, Aaron, you told them about UV. I'm like, no, you don't understand what this is. Unless you know the nanometer wavelength of light is 222, that it's krypton lighting, not the old mercury-based 254. I'm no physicist, but the people at Boeing are, and they're brilliant. And the people, Dr. David Brenner, they're brilliant. Unless you know that it's 222, you don't know what this is or how important it is and what it can do. And both sides are going to agree. If we're divided into sides, we're all on the same team, don't know it, but everybody's going to agree with something like this.
Jana, as we wrap up and wind down, what are your thoughts? It sounds like you think this is good.
I'm totally on board. I'm taking it to frontline doctors.
You're taking it to the frontline doctors?
Yes, if they don't already know about it, they need to. This is great. And in all the frontline, the Gold Care clinics, the Gold Care hospitals, this would be essential.
I mean, there's a reason, right, Aaron? There's a reason that these government agencies are using this.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's almost as if it's being withheld.
And it's hard to tell. I think some of it, this gets a little bit, I don't think it's being as actively suppressed as, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and all these other cures, because we see that active suppression. I think maybe this hasn't caught on enough, or they don't quite realize what it is, but how good it is should break through. And even the military, in some of the webinars with the DSIAC, some of the military members were asking the questions of the Boeing engineers and also of PJ Piper, the CEO of Far UV Technologies, and they said, hey, do our highest ups know about this? And at the time, I think the answer was, well, we're kind of here and we're speaking about it. But now Fauci maybe had one email out of 3,400. I can't blame him. As an administrator, things get lost in the shuffle. That said, from the bigger perspective, should we expect that if something's out there, the CDC, the NIH, the FDA, these people would have brought it to us, especially in such a public health crisis, how much of it's manufactured, that they would have brought it to us, and they haven't. For that, yes, they were being negligent about it. But I don't I think we can break through with it because it's got preferred government status. It's got all the studies. I can send you guys the studies, send you Dr. David Brenner's references, hook you up with the company and all of their information they have, and you can quickly disseminate it. And there's not a lot they could do about it, and not a lot people are going to disagree with, honestly. No one. The other side of this will say, oh, those anti-vaxxers.
The companies that are making money on the other things, they may disagree, but we're more than they are.
Exactly, and
There's
if you
more
get
of us that want to help,
you get that truth out quickly, then it kind of overwhelms them, and you're going to have people at their school boards, you're going to people have local governments saying, hey, let's put this in all these places you're holding hostage. You plug it in, and boom, we've got the protection. Here's the studies, here's everything to back it up.
Perfect.
Dr. Jana, Dr. Aaron, thank you for joining. Discuss your truth. Some final comments for listeners, Dr. Jana. Some final thoughts, and then Aaron, some final thoughts from you. Jana.
For those who are doing the right thing and holding the line and trying to be true to their beliefs and integrity, I don't think it's ever wrong to hold true to what you believe. So it may seem dark, but there are a lot of people that are working to help you, right? There's a lot of people, a lot of doctors, lawyers, mama bears, right? They're all out there working very hard to help everybody in the community be able to make the choice that they want to do and to have the truth and to have their children go to school freely. So not to give up and to be encouraged and not to underestimate the power of prayer.
Dr. Aaron Williams, sir. Some final comments.
Yeah, I mean, when we end with the power of prayer, I hardly want to say anything after because that's kind of the ultimate trump card on everything. But I will say that, the thing that I want to get through, especially to the medical community, aside from you can even help even if you can't get out there. Reach behind the scenes to us. Help support, Discussions of Truth, America's Frontline Doctors, and the other movements that are trying to bring the truth to people and trying to expose what all is happening and do well for people. You can do that, but also for your own good and for those around you, push. We need to live in an evidence-based reality. We do evidence-based medicine, but no one's looking at the evidence. We need to look at that, then you'll see it. You can't not see it when you look at these studies. You will understand, and the same thing goes for our reality. You have to understand something's bigger at play here. There's a reason why all roads lead to just this mRNA injection, and it's by design. And once people understand there can be a bigger picture, look for the evidence, and you will indeed find it. We're fighting a much bigger foe than just this engineered bioweapon. It's a much bigger thing. So live an evidence-based reality and join this fight with us. We're here, we're strong, and we're going to win this fight.